Patrick Saunders, why don't you start us off?
Good afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm well. Good afternoon.
Since we talked before you to two relievers, I thought I'd ask a couple of bullpen questions today.
Right.
If I were to say to you that your 2021 Rockies bullpen is currently a work in progress, is that a fair characterization, or would you say something else?
Well, I will say, I'm not sure quite what you mean by work in progress. I'll say this, that I think a number of guys are trying to find their footing. I'll put it that way. I think we've seen pretty consistent work out of a couple guys, and some other guys are trying to be more consistent. And we've talked about that. By consistent, I mean stringing together, a handful, 7 to 8, consecutive outings of scoreless innings, or limiting damage. I think that, was what I'm looking for. I think these are our best group of relievers that we have in the organization right now, who give us the best chance to have the best bullpen, and that can change, right? With potential ensuing transactions. But I think a lot of guys are trying to get their footing, are trying to stabilize themselves with consistent outings, and that's what we need. I mean, we need guys to string together scoreless appearances.
With the group as it's currently constructed, do you have faith that going forward, that this can be, if the guys make the steps and find the footing, as you mentioned, is the potential there for this bullpen to really come together?
Sure, I think so. Because like we've said before, we've seen stretches of outings, and by that I'll say weeks, months of good pitching by this group. And you can go guy by guy. The trick is to be consistent over, and I'll say it again, 55 to 70 games. And that is what a major league relief pitcher will pitch, that amount of games. If he stays active and he's on the team from opening day until the end of the year, they're going to pitch 55 to 70 games. And they need to be consistent for the most part in the majority of those games.
And one more for me, buddy. Watching from home last night, I was really impressed, at least from the television view, of the movement on Michael Given's stuff, particularly that fastball. It looked electric last night. I'm curious if you're seeing that as well.
Yeah, I think, Michael, I think after the first couple outings has been solid. And I think he has that ability to dial it up as far as the velocity. I think we saw that last night. And in the hitting area, to your point, it's sharp with really good movement. And I think yesterday he was, nipping the outside corner with velocity, to the right-handed hitters. So he pitched very well in a tie game on the road, against the middle part of their order, and threw the ball really well. But I agree, he was really crisp last night.
Great. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thomas?
Buddy, how are you doing today?
Thomas, I'm doing well. Thank you.
You look like you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Yes, I wanted to dovetail on what Patrick said. And I wanted to look at, not to totally be a stat monger here, but at the start of the season, your bullpen gave up 27 walks in 54 innings. Since then, it's just been 6 in 26 2/3. I remember there was a point in there where you said you guys were going to discuss this situation. What do you feel they've done to cut down on the walks that lead to other problems?
Yeah, well, what was a little concerning to me was that a lot of the guys coming out of spring training didn't have great springs. And I've seen many, many times over the years that the bell rings and, guys all of a sudden turn it on and pitch well. That wasn't the case this year. They sort of carried their sort of spring training performances into the regular season. So I think the thing that I brought to their attention was just that we can't continue this trend. And it isn't just because of the regular season. I told them, fellas, we saw this in spring training where you were competing and, you were in exhibition games, even though they didn't count. I saw some things I didn't really like. So we addressed that. And I think to their credit, they have since turned that around. They meaning the group as a whole, are guys that understand, the importance of, bases on balls and what that means, the lack of bases on balls and what that means to the success of a pitcher. So they have since turned that around, which is great. And we got back to, some basic pitching principles of strike one, getting the first guy out of the inning as best they can, all those things that, lead to a successful outing. But it starts with throwing strikes, having a great ball strike ratio, attacking the hitter, being aggressive. And I think that's turned in the last couple of weeks.
We've seen Stevenson pitch well recently. And as Patrick was talking about, Givens, do you see any of the guys that have struggled a little bit that are kind of turning the corner a bit? Did you see good things out of his?
Well, I'd like to think that Estevez is maybe in a better spot. The last couple of outings have been scoreless, and his velocity's ticked up. I think Jordan Sheffield with just 3 weeks of major league service, 4 weeks of major league service has shown some signs that of more comfort and being in a big league game. His stuff has really played up a little bit. I know that he had a number of days off prior to his last couple outings. I think Ben Bowden, is, hopefully trending up. He's had a couple rough ones, but overall, he's attacked the zone. He's thrown strikes. Again, our guys as a group have to do it, but there's a couple guys that I think are trending up.
Okay. Last for me on the bullpen, but Bard's had a couple of blips lately. Or are they just blips that you see over the course of a long season, or is there anything that's concerning at all?
Nothing really concerning. His stuff is solid. He is attacking the zone. The only thing that I see is that, there's been too many pitches that have been up in the strike zone.
Yeah.
And up out over the plate a little bit, as opposed to the combination of good low strikes and then elevating the ball when you need to certain hitters and certain counts. So I think there's, in that area of like the mid thigh to the belly button, there's been too many pitches in that area. We got to get back to, when you elevate the ball, it's got to be at the right height, and he's got to get the ball down a little bit more, especially with the slider.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, Thomas.
Noah, go ahead.
Hey, bud. Thomas and Patrick asked a few of my questions, but I do have a few others for you. Like, for example, with Michael Givens, last year his changeup rate was below 21%, and this year it's nearly 51%.
Right.
What have you seen out of the changeup, and why do you think he's throwing it so much more often than he did last year?
I think it's just part of what makes him good. I think that the changeup was a pitch that we talked about with a lot of our pitchers, in spring training. And I think that Michael's usage is such where I think the type of hitters that he's faced this year were changeup prone. He's faced a lot of left-handed hitters. We had the Dodgers and all their lefties, the Giants, the first series. And even though last night he faced, I think, just the one lefty and a few righties. but the change will come into play a little bit more against the left-handed hitter. And I haven't done the homework, but my sense is that he's faced a lot of left-handed hitters this year. So we'll see as the season unfolds and, the number of lefties he faces as opposed to righties. I think that's probably a lot of the usage is the handedness of the hitter.
Secondly, with guys who may be turning the corner, Yency Almonte, obviously he hasn't seen the results that you would like out of him yet, but he does have a hard hit percentage and exit velocity that's among the top 10% in all of baseball. What are some of the other good things that you've seen?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was going to mention that. I'm glad you brought that up. You're right. I mean, there's been some really soft contact that have gone for base hits, and only to the critical eye, and you picked that up, obviously, that can lead to the inflated numbers of the ERA, the hits per innings pitched, a lost game for us. Those things have sort of went against Yency. So over time, you hope that those things even out, and he continues to create that type of exit velocity or lack thereof, and string together some good games. So again, I think there was some usage of the changeup there. I do think that his fastball is going to come into play more as we move forward, and his slider. I think there's been some at times pitch selection that we've talked to Yency about, and the catchers that we have to get back to. So that will help him. So that's sort of where we are with him, and he pitched a lot. I think in our first 18 games he might have been in 10 of them, so there was some usage there. We've haven't had him in there as much the last week or so, so I think the arm is going to freshen up. But I do think he's going to be a big part of our bullpen, as he was last year, where he had a really solid year in the shortened season.
And then the last one for me, and if you aren't comfortable talking about it, or and you can't say that's okay, with Kerwin Danley and being injured last night and having to be removed from the game, have you happened to talk to him since and see how he's been doing?
Yeah, well, actually, I did, and I think I can speak to this because I've known Kerwin for almost 40 years. I think I don't know whether we talked about it yesterday, did we? That, we were at San Diego. Yeah, we were at San Diego State at the same time in, the late 70s. And after the game, immediately after the game, even before I talked to you guys, I popped in the umpire's room, which is adjacent to our clubhouse, and saw Kerwin, and we spoke for a few minutes, and he was feeling better, had a headache. I think with a lot of umpires and a lot of catchers, there's those types of situations that can lead to, some sort of degree and level of a concussion. But he was fine. Again, like I said, a little bit of a headache. He was dressed, he had showered. The other umpires were, doing their post-game thing, and they were, about to, gather themselves and leave the ballpark together as they do. But I think he's going to be out for a couple games per their protocols, and he'll rejoin his crew at some point, I think probably within the next week.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go back to Patrick to finish up. Patrick, go ahead.
Buddy, a question I meant to ask you the other day, and it got kind of lost in the shuffle. What's your opinion on the kind of mini controversy out there about whether a 7-inning no-hitter is actually a no-hitter?
Yeah, that's a good one. I thought that would qualify based on, where we are now with the 7-inning doubleheader situation that has come into play. There's a part of me that thinks it should stand as a no-hitter with maybe some sort of note by it, maybe I don't know, with an asterisk that says 7-inning game, but still qualifies as a no-hitter.
Yeah, I think it was Mad Bum who did it, and you guys face him. I think you face him in Arizona coming up. So
yeah, we do. We face him this weekend, and I think didn't Gallen have a no-hitter into the 7th as well?
He did
in that same doubleheader. Yeah, so I mean, for me, I think it, I think it counts, but there might have to be some notation that it was a 7-inning game.
Cool.